for inclusive societies. You know, there is an increasing inequality in the world. There is an increasing inequality in the world. This has been very contentious for the last decades. It was very contentious whether our world was becoming more or less unequal. But from the year 2011 onwards, we have gathered a lot of data that is telling us that most of our societies, most of our countries in the world are becoming more unequal and not less. Among nations, this gap is diminishing. So nations are becoming closer together. But at the level of inside the countries, these inequalities are rising. This is happening, let's say, all over the world. I'm going to speak first about within the countries. This is happening all over the world. There is only one exception, which is Latin America. In Latin America, governments have been able to address inequality, and today they are diminishing the gap in between those very rich ones and those that are very poor. But in Latin America, we know that the inequality is the biggest in the world, together with that one of sub-Saharan countries. Sub-Saharan countries, African countries, below the Sahara. So this is happening, as I tell you, everywhere, and with this exception, Latin America, and mainly, as I'm telling you, because of the role that the government has. The government has been able to address extreme poverty, unlike in most of other countries. In China, it is inequality is growing. In Europe, inequality is growing. In the States, it is growing. It is growing mainly also in Africa, and we know in the Philippines, Indonesia, of course also in Thailand. No? In Thailand, inequality is also rising. So humanity today is able to create a lot of wealth, but that wealth is mainly going into the hands of those who have. Second, then the question is about taxing and distribution. No? If governments are able to tax and they are able to distribute, then this inequality can be addressed. So what is happening today is that governments have many difficulties in taxing those who are richer, and they have many difficulties in justifying that distribution is very much required. Do you all follow my English? Yes. I was telling you, in between countries, this gap is diminishing. This is very slow, because in fact, our world today is very unequal. Those who are rich are very rich, and those who are poor are really very poor. And this is going to be with us for a long term. So as I was telling you, governments don't know how to justify more taxing and better distribution of wealth inside their countries. So this is probably going to be with us for a long term. There is a double gap. The first gap is between those who have wealth, those who are rich, and those employed, those who have assets and those who are employed. Those who have assets are able to earn more money than those who are employed. This is something that has been stated by one economist in the last years, in the last 4 years, which is Piketty. He's from France. Today he's a very renowned economist, and what he has said is that when growth is not very high, those who have assets earn much more than those who are employed and wages don't grow as fast as interests. So this is the first division, the first gap. And during the economic crisis that happened in 2008, this was something that happened. People that were rich became richer, and those that didn't have so much, well, stayed at least as they were. So this is the first division, the first gap. And the second one is between low-skilled and high-skilled workers. This is very well known, no? So if you are highly skilled, if you have good studies, you can earn much more than if you work in construction or just with the streets. No? And this is one of the divisions that usually in our countries shows also the presence of migrants, illegal migrants, low-skilled ones, and those who are locals and are highly skilled ones. So as you see, there are these two gaps, and these are increasing gaps. Something which is happening in many countries, I don't know whether it happens also in Thailand, is that some low-skilled workers, they work very hard, but they remain poor. They don't earn as much as to manage with their lives. This is happening everywhere, in many places. So this is also related to the minimum wage. No? To the minimum wage. Is our minimum wage enough to have a family, to grow a family, or isn't it? Well, today what might be different is that we tend to consider that the poor are guilty of their situation. We say, oh, they could behave better, they could do it better. It's their guilt that they are like they are. They are in this situation. Well, from our Christian tradition, what we would say, well, we have an option for the poor. We have an option for the poor. We would like to defend them. And the Pope is speaking once and again against this throwaway culture. We have a throwaway culture. No? We throw away people. We throw away the nature. This is one also of the themes of the new encyclical. He speaks very much about this. Well, you could say, well, inequality is so important. Yes, inequality is very important. Why? First, because it is unjust. Then, because it usually generates political instability and social instability. Whenever we live in an unequal society, we live in a worse society. In fact, it's easier to relate to people who are closer to us than to people who are very far away, in their economic situation. So this is the first challenge about inclusion. The inclusion of those who are poor economically, people who are excluded. We need inclusion because there are so many people who are excluded. And throw away. This is the original word is in Spanish because this is a very Francis word. It's really one of his words, of the Pope's word.
Yes.
In English they translate it as throw away, but it could be dismissible things. No? So many things that you can throw away. No? That people today we throw away. Okay, the second. When we speak about inclusion, it's not only about economy, it's not only about the economic situation of the people, but it's also about the origins of the people. We are diverse, and we exclude because of we are diverse. People who are different many times experience exclusion, they experience rejection from others. There are three sources of cultural diversity. Three sources. The first one is a historical one. Most of our countries have historic ethnic minorities. Most of our countries have historic ethnic minorities. This is so clear in Thailand. It is so clear in Laos, in Cambodia, in Vietnam, in Burma, in China, wherever you go. All of our countries, most of them, there are very, very few exceptions, very, very real few exceptions in the world, which are countries that are mono-ethnic origin. I think it's Iceland, it can be Portugal, not many more than those. Very few. You can even imagine Switzerland, no? Very small country, but so many different origins. So there is a historical reason for this. And we have tried to build up, all of us, all our countries have tried to build up a mono-national country. Mono-national country. I come from Spain. Well, we are all Spanish, but in fact we are very diverse. And we come from different ethnic, language, and cultural traditions. Well, as it happens, as I tell you, in many other countries. So this is one of the sources of cultural diversity. In the past, they used to think, okay, the construction of modern nations is going to let us forget about the historical origins of these minorities. This was a dream. It was a dream in France, it was a dream in Germany, it wasn't a dream in those countries that for the first time modernized, their societies. This didn't happen. And one of the proofs that this didn't happen is the former communist countries. They seem to be all just workers and comrades. But then, when everything collapsed, they discovered that they were from Kosovo, they were from Albania. You remember the Yugoslavia, no? The former Yugoslavia, whole country, but so diverse, no? Then they fought one against the other, no? So this has been there, it has always been there, and it's still with us. And today we need to recognize that diversity in order to create our countries gathering all this diversity, which is also part of our richness. No? So this is one of the sources. The second one is external. It is external. This is also increasing. These are immigrants coming to our countries. And today we have so many people coming from outside going to a new country. And today we have here some, I can imagine some people, no? You were saying that you are coming from Pakistan, yes, and you are coming from the PayPal. No? I'm in Italy and I'm Spanish, so I'm also a migrant. So we can be migrants in very different situations, but migration is a growing phenomenon in the world. And whenever we have been foreigners, we have, let's say, understood what to be a foreigner mean. No? It's really difficult. No? It's really difficult to be a foreigner. Because people say, well, you are not from here. I knew one person that had been in one country for more than 40 years. And when she was a woman, when she was something like 55, so she went very, very young to that country. When she was 55, people still told her, but you are not from here, no? Not you. Okay, I'm not from here, but it seems that I could be, no? So this cultural diversity is also external, and there is a third source of cultural diversity. And we usually forget this one. This third source is usually forgotten, which is, well, we are all different. We decide who we are. In the past, we used to reproduce what our parents were, our family's traditions. Today, we don't do that anymore. We try to decide who we want to become. And this is making our societies growingly, increasingly diverse. So these are the three sources.
Very clear.
Not very clear.
The last one.
The last one. Yeah. Let's see. I hope you, well, it's different depending on the countries. It might be different depending on the countries. In the past, we used to decide who we were, and we used to decide our vocation, our way of living, looking to our parents, to our former generations, who they were, define who we were. Today that is not happening anymore. We don't look to the past. We look to other countries, we look to other people, and then we decide who we are going to be. It's a new way. We have cut with tradition, and now we define ourselves, our projects of life, our identities, looking to the future. This is a complete new way of becoming human beings. Yeah, related to homogeneity. In the past, our societies were much more homogeneous, but today they are very diverse, and we say that there are new values. There are new values. Sometimes we speak about the loss of values, but in fact there are new values. Some people preserve those of the past. Some people just have new ones. No? We are becoming increasingly heterogeneous inside the Thai society, inside the Spanish society, inside every society.
So you also say that is diversity in one person.
Also,
yeah?
we understand ourselves as a cross of belongings, cross of identities. No? Well, my family is coming from there, but I had an experience somewhere else, and then I'm working here with people from. We are a cross, no? A crossroads of identities. And there is a trend of exclusion also. There is a trend of exclusion, and we can see it. We can see it today in so many places. There are killing borders. At least there are 3 major killing borders in the world today. There is one in between Mexico and the United States. GRS is working there, and we have one corridor, which is the Central American corridor, where so many migrants are being killed. They are dying, they are being killed. There is another major killing border in the Mediterranean Sea, people trying to get from Africa into the threshold of Europe and dying. Today, this is the place where a higher number of migrants are dying in the Mediterranean Sea. Last year, there were estimated some 3,000. Last year, this was the estimate. And then we have had the crisis close to Thailand also, which has been the Rohingyas coming from Burma, no? Trying to reach Indonesia, Thailand, Malaysia, having so many problems in being allowed just to go to any of these countries. We exclude people, and we have these killing borders. But of course, this region has had some major crisis of migrants and refugees for the last 40, 50 years, something like that, from the 60s. And that's why also we have Jairus today in the Society of Jesus. Well, we also have discrimination because of ethnic origins. People that come from ethnic minorities usually feel ashamed when they have to talk in the national language. They feel ashamed because they talk in a different way. And as soon as they open their mouth, they are recognized. People know that they come from a minority. We discriminate because of ethnic origins. I tell you one example. This is coming from Spain, it's not coming from the Thai society, it's coming from Spain. I had one companion, Jesuit companion. We used to speak both in Basque and in Spanish. Basque is an ethnic minority language. We used to speak in both languages. And I asked him, when did you learn your Basque? Oh, I learned it when I was 40. I began to learn it. I studied it and I learned it. And what did your parents speak? Oh, my parents spoke Basque. How is that now? So your parents spoke Basque and you never learned Basque? No, that was like that. And why was that? Because my parents didn't want me to learn Basque. They wanted me to learn good Spanish. Because otherwise, I wouldn't be able to have a good life. I needed Spanish, not Basque. So people feel really discriminated because of their ethnic origins, and much more when this also involves physical characters, when it involves also languages. Well, this is a major trend in the world, and I can imagine that it is also present here in Thailand. Then we were saying before, no? Economic inequality, we need to answer with this option for the poor. And here the need is to build up societies which are not only bound because of the national origin, no? But because we share this country. The Thai nation is not going to belong only to the Thais. It's going to belong to all those that are committed to the Thai society. So many people committed to one society. Those are the ones that have to live together. And we have to live together however we are, in the different situations that we live, with our different origins. Spain is not only going to belong to the so-called Spanish citizens, but to all those that are committed to the well-being of the Spanish society. So build up, this is our challenge, to build up societies that allow cultural and ethnic diversity. Diversity is going to be with us for ages. And this is a source of richness, it's not a source of distress.
What's going to this dialogue with Islam?
Yeah, no, I prefer to leave it because I know this is going to be a major issue. At least in some countries, because our countries are so different. But probably because of what happened in the year 2001, no? when the two towers in New York were attacked, and then everything began. No? The war in Afghanistan, then the war in Iraq, and then all this distress, which is spread out all the Islam world, which is affecting all the Islam world, and marginally, because most of the distress is in the Islamic world, and marginally is also affecting other countries. This is making these wars, these aggressions, this distress is creating a lot of many problems in the world today. We don't know where we are going. No? Our countries are becoming closer because of this, because today our borders are much more difficult to cross because of this. They are getting crazy about who's coming into our countries, who's crossing the border. This is going to be a major issue. And I think there are many stereotypes that work against us. Today there is a trend saying that, well, Islam is linked to violence, has always been linked to violence. That is not true. That is not true. There are so many ways of being a Muslim, which is not at all related to violence. It's related to peace. But this is a stereotype which is shaping the way we treat Muslims in the world today. This is going to be a major issue. I suppose in the Thai society is much smaller. This question in Europe is becoming more and more important. I think it's quite complex, and I don't want to get into that. I think it's quite difficult, it's much more complex, and I hope this is not for the long term. I hope this is not going to...
So we can say that, as the sister was saying, the religion is ethnic, within the ethnic factors, it's a major factor after 9/11. So it's a cause of, persecution. In Muslim words, many ethnic and minorities coming from their countries, and they are trying to get the nationalities other countries. These are the burden on the world, because they cannot gel in that countries. So we can say after 9/11, the religion is most and very dominating factor.
Yes, probably. I usually try to think that religion is not the major question. I usually try to think that religion is one factor which is involved. But in so many places we don't have problems with people who are Muslim or who are Hindus if they are rich. We don't have any problems with them if they are rich. So sometimes there are power questions, and then religion is involved there. And religion is very powerful to involve people in struggles. No? So sometimes religion is used for political ends. So I think it's quite complex. As you know, there is one book which was written by Samuel Huntington that was in the 90s. He's from America, and he was saying, now we don't have anymore the Cold War. It's the world is not divided into the capitalist and the communist world. It is divided because of religion. And we are going to suffer conflicts in the borders where religion is involved. Well, this is one of the descriptions of the world at that time, and probably he's saying, oh, I was right. But my feeling is that religion is one of the components that people with power use in order to involve the feelings of the population. But it's very contentious. And I will finish here. And then this will be the last one. The first one. Then if you want, we continue. It's your time, not my time. So we were speaking about the challenge of inclusion, and now we are going to speak about the challenge of sustainability. That is the ecological challenge. Some people say that today we are living in a new geological age. And that geological age could be called the Anthropocene. The Anthropocene. It means that the major factor shaping the world today is the presence of human beings. In the past, in some other geological ages, there were other factors, external factors. Let's say a meteorite that hit the Earth, as it happened when the dinosaurs disappeared 66 million years ago. But today, the major factor shaping our world is just the presence of human beings. We are really changing what the world is today. So we could call this geological age the Anthropocene. They say, geologists say that if today all of us disappear, some other in the future could see a very tiny part of the soil of the earth with a big change before our presence and after our presence, because we have already created so many changes in the face of the world today, the Anthropocene. Biodiversity is diminishing. We say that today we are facing the 6th extinction. So there have been 5 other major extinctions of life in the history of life in the planet. This would be the 6th one. Extinctions are not that normal. Today we listen, no, we are the rhinoceros, no, the rhinoceros, we are missing the rhinoceros, no, we are missing so many species that we don't even know which they are. No? But this is not normal. This is not normal. Usually species grow and become more and more through the years. That's why we have so much diversity of life today. But if it is diminishing, this is an exception in history. Only out of some special phenomena. One I was telling you, this hit of a meteorite for the disappearance of dinosaurs occurred. No? This is something that only from time to time happens. This is what's happening today because of our presence. We are a factor of diminishing species in the world. We have also provoked climate change. Climate change is happening. Today there is, let's say, a scientific consensus on this, and most of the scientists say that this is happening because of us sending gases of carbon gases, no? To the atmosphere, and this is creating this effect, no? of growing temperature in the world. Our resources are also becoming less, and we have many problems in the world because of conflicts driven by mining activities. There are many conflicts in the world because of mining activities. Never before in the past mining activities were so numerous, were so high. And today we have conflicts everywhere, especially in areas where there are peasants and where there are ethnic minorities. Again, we are speaking about indigenous people. Conflicts are in Canada, in the United States, in Mexico, in Central America, in Colombia, in Peru, in Ecuador, I'm just remembering places where I have been and I have seen conflicts because of mining. But there are also conflicts in India. I can imagine that here you have conflicts because of mining in the Philippines, in Indonesia, in Australia, wherever you go, wherever there are mining activities, which is a major source of wealth, of assets, there are also conflicts. Conflicts because people are expelled, because people don't receive what they should, and because of contamination. There's a lot of contamination of rivers, of water, because of this. And in some cases, well, mining activities require a lot of water, so there is a depletion of water because of mining activities. A major problem. The encyclical speaks about all these questions. But as I was telling you at the very beginning, I put this before the encyclical came out. Okay? That means that these are really very important issues. The poor are the most vulnerable in this situation. So this situation has winners and losers. Has winners and losers. The losers are going to be the poorest. Okay? We know, for instance, that the poor people have not contributed to climate change, but they are going to suffer the consequences of whatever it happens. If the height of the seas rises, this is going to affect mainly the coastal populations and, of course, the poorest ones. Also, peasants are being affected because of the change of climate patterns, which affects also the plantations and the growing of vegetables, plants, and so on. We have an unsustainable way of producing and consuming. The encyclical speaks about lifestyles and the way we produce and consume. We have an unsustainable way of producing and consuming. We cannot keep on behaving as we do. And this is very disturbing. Just to think that, so we cannot live as we live. No, probably we cannot live as we live if we want to keep this planet alive. Otherwise, we are going to experience major changes. And we don't even know what those changes are going to be. We can know more or less what are the changes if the temperature, the median temperature in the world rises up to 2 degrees. But from that onwards, we don't really know what the changes are going to be. Because the changes are not going to be linear, but they can become different. What happens if the ice in the tundra or the ice in Greenland, Greenland, disappears, and all the level of the seas rises something like 7 meters? What's going to happen? We don't know what's going to happen. So there are some scenarios that we really don't know how they will be, and scientists don't know. Well, we are living in a false dilemma. The dilemma says, or either we exploit nature and we try to live better, or we preserve nature and we live worse, especially the poor. That dilemma is saying, or nature or us, or either nature or either us. That's a false dilemma, because it has to be nature and us. We don't have a future without nature. So we need to love, protect, and care for nature. This is the challenge. So I was speaking about the the first challenge, no option for the poor. The second challenge about building up inclusive societies with cultural diversity. And the third one is, well, this need to love, protect, and care for nature. I say there love because we cannot protect what we don't love. We cannot care for something if we don't love it. You remember Laudato Si, no? Laudato Si is the title of the encyclical. So good, Lord, that you have created this beautiful planet for us, this beautiful nature for us. Then, if we give thanks for this, if we feel grateful for this, then we will be able also to care for it and to preserve it. Otherwise, it will be very difficult for us. I finished here. Something that I think is important is to know more about nature, to know more about our planet. If we know more, we are also going to be able to preserve it, to love it, to understand how incredible it is. How incredible it is. Well, you live in a very rich, naturally very rich country. It's a beautiful country. So, and you are the ones responsible for it. You can take care of it. Spain is also very nice, but it doesn't have such a large diversity of creatures as you do, no? As Thailand does. And for this we will need new lifestyles. Okay, so this is the summary, and I leave it there if you want to translate. Okay, so what we have seen are some few challenges, but very important challenges for today, for the present, today, and also for the future. As I tell you, these are going to be with us for the coming decades. And we work in institutions, we work personally also in these fields, and we are going to face this, both personally, institutionally, as countries. And these are very complex questions. These are very complex problems. There is no person in the world that can give a complete answer to these questions. There's no one person. This is a challenge for humanity today. Our father Arrupe used to say, well, these are very complex questions. We need to pray. We need to pray, because this is not in our hands. We cannot deal by ourselves with the ecological crisis or with this throwaway culture. It's very complex. We need to pray. We need to pray, and at the same time, we need to offer the best that we have. Our contribution is very important. And what I'm going to share now is some very tiny things that we can contribute with from our Ignatian tradition. We have a tradition, we share a tradition. Let's say that this tradition is the Ignatian tradition, and I'm going just to speak about 3 small little things that we can do. Well, we need solid persons. We need solid persons. We need persons that have values, that are committed, that are grounded, that are really grounded. There is one sociologist today, Sigmund Bauman, who says that our age is a liquid age. This is a liquid age. It seems that he knows Sigmund Bauman. Okay, so he says, well, we live in a liquid age, but we need solid persons. These kind of challenges are going to require persons that can give good answers, that are able to think the world today, that are able to commit helps people to grow. I remember one. Nice to meet you, Father. Nice to see you. Very pleased to meet you. When I was in Spain, once I was speaking with one woman, a friend of mine, who was working also in the same institution as I did, and she used to say, whenever you meet a Jesuit, well, you meet a person. And I was saying, oh, I think it's related to this. You meet a person, somebody that has a position, that thinks, that is able to dialogue with you, that acknowledges things, that commits. Well, that's a Jesuit. Well, I hope that's a Jesuit. I hope that's everybody that is grounded, embedded in the Ignatian tradition. No? It really helps to allow people grow as solid, firm. So we're speaking about the person that finds security within, inside himself or herself. He's grounded. She knows what she is. A person that is that feels safe, sure within herself, himself. Is a person free. Is a free person in front of external attractions. Today we have so many calls, so many external calls, so many attractions. He's free, not detached, but free. He's able to say yes, and he's able to say no. And also, he's a person who is free from inner impulses. Fear, free from fear, free from limitations, free from her personal character. He knows himself, herself, and he's able to cope with his limitations, his personal stories, and her fears. He's referred to others, but he's not dependent. He's not dependent. Nobody should be dependent on others, no? We should be committed to others, but we should be referred to others, but not dependent on them. Living out of gratefulness. A person who lives on gratefulness, who really sees everything as received, as something that has to be thanked for. Do I live everything as a grace? Do I live everything as a grace? There are some people that think that they have the life that they deserve. I live so well because I have been so good. Well, this is not a Christian. A Christian is a person that says, I live so well because God has been so grateful to me, so good to me. Some necessary capacities in order to grow in this way. We need emotional intelligence. We need to know what our feelings are, to know ourselves. We need to reflect on ourselves. We need time for this. We need something which we miss in our societies today, which is silence. We need time and silence. We need to acknowledge what we receive, acknowledge, to say thanks for it, and we need to be capable of deciding and committing, discerning. So find security within, free from internal and external attractions and limitations, impulses, refer to others, not dependent, living out from gratefulness, and stuff. We can really recognize Jesus here, no? We can really recognize Jesus. He found security within. No, he was so free. He finds security within. And the Gospel says this man speaks with authority. With authority. So he was the one. No? a security within, not outside, not from other sources, not from other authorities. The authority was within him. He was free, he was referred to others, but he was not dependent on anybody. No? And then he lived completely on gratefulness. No? He was thanking God, the Father, for whatever he had.
อันนี้เขาถูกว่าถ้าในคุณลักษณะแบบนี้เนี่ยก็คือคุณลักษณะของพระเยซูเจ้าถ้าดูลักษณะของ
And all our activities in the area of education are helping us to support people become solid, firm people, no? Robust persons. No? And probably the challenges that we are facing need this kind of people. We don't need very weak people. We need really solid people, grounded. Second word. And I show you one. This is a mosaic that is in Rome. It is very close to our community. It's in another community, in a Jesuit community, but it is close to ours. It's very big. It's really very big, this mosaic. It's taller than this one, and then it might be something like 10 meters, something like that. So the faces of Mary and Joseph, they are bigger than ours. So the impact is very strong, because when you see this, it is very strong. It's a very much Ignatian description of nativity. In fact, it is related to the spiritual exercises, to one special contemplation, the contemplation of incarnation and the contemplation of nativity. You may see several elements here. This represents the Trinity. The Trinity. There is one contemplation in the exercises, the one of incarnation, as I tell you, that is saying, well, the Trinity sees the world. The Trinity sees the world. What's happening to people in the world? And then seeing so much suffering, the Trinity decides that the second person of the Trinity, that is the Son, Jesus, will be part of humanity. Let's redeem the world. That's what the Trinity says in this contemplation. And then the little child appears, and the little child is here. You see Joseph looking at the Trinity, you see Mary, and then you see the little child, and there is one special person there. Try to see whether you see also this person, this character, in other representations of nativity. Usually it's not there. That person is not there. But in the spiritual exercises, in the contemplation of nativity, Saint Ignatius says that there was one, could be a woman, or could be a man. In this case, it's a woman represented there, helping them. There was somebody helping the Holy Family, just doing whatever they required so that they could be better. And there she is, no? In the grotto. You see the grotto here. Also, all these lights, coming from God, coming in to that darkness of the grotto. And then this is the woman that is, as you see, looking at us and inviting us to go there. She's inviting us to take part in this story. She's inviting us to be part of the story of Jesus in this world. You see? So this is the invitation. The invitation of the mosaic is very clear. Come in. Don't be just looking at this. Come in and be part of this very nice story. But remember, God has become a child. God is not the powerful one. God is the one trying to live with us. meaningfully, joyfully. Be part of it. This is the invitation. So this is also the invitation of the Asian tradition. Maybe you can. Yeah, you see the leaves? Yes. Well, from a dead stick, new life can come out. But very tiny one, no? Well, as the child. It needs time to grow. Because this story is growing, no? This story is a long story, and we're still on that story. Something that sometimes can strike us is, well, if God really wanted to change this world, change humanity, propose a new way of living, why did He came as a little child? Why? We needed much more change. Well, these are the ways of God. These are not our ways. No? Okay. So not only solid persons, but also committed persons. This world requires committed people. Okay. So we are invited to collaborate with God, present and active in our world. We are invited to collaborate, as we were seeing, knowing this woman inviting us to collaborate. Well, God is present and active in the world. He's inviting us to collaborate. We are collaborators of God's mission. Nothing less than that. We are collaborators of God's mission. Nothing is going to happen in the world unless we are committed to it. Miracles exist because we are also involved in whatever happens. Miracles exist because we are involved in them. Whatever happens in the world is a miracle. But it only happens if we are also involved in it. Committed persons are persons that have experience of their reality, that are sensitive to the suffering of people. Committed people are people that really resonate, no, with the sufferings of the people. You know many people that are so far away from the sufferings of the poor ones. They say, okay, that's there, I don't care. We need to resonate with the sufferings of the people. Capable of interpreting it. No? We need to think reality, and I'm sure that you gather from time to time together just to think about what's going on, what's happening. No? This is very important. Compassionate. People who are compassionate. Jesus was compassionate. Jesus was really compassionate. Compassion is something that involves us and moves us. No? It touches our hearts, but at the same time, it pushes us, no, to do something. We need to be compassionate. Committed persons are capable of serving, going out of his self-love, will, and interest. This is something that Ignatius says in the spiritual exercises, which is very important for us, no? To go out from our self-love, will, and interest. Progressing inside the community of solidarity. Committed people don't work alone. They work together with others. They work in communities. They grow in communities. They collaborate with others. And they have a sense of community, not of just individuals. With habits of the heart, people that cultivate virtues, habits of the heart, good habits of the heart. No? This is also very much related to education. No? Education is a way of cultivating habits of the heart. No? Close to the poor and open to new possibilities. And I also stop here if you want to. God Christian life is about we contributing to that presence and action of God in our world. It's not about us. It's about Him. It's about Him. So we have to be a little bit attentive to what God is doing in our world today. I remember I had one Colombian companion, one Colombian Jesuit, who was working in a very conflictive area, very difficult area, and once he was threatened. He was threatened, his life was threatened. No? They told him, we are going to kill you, we are going to kill you. So after some time that was going on, he went to his mother and he told her, well, my situation there is very difficult because I have been threatened and probably nothing will happen to me, but it could be. And then his mother, he remembers it very well, his mother told him, oh my son, well we know that God is not dead. He's not, it seems that he's not even ill, so just trust. No? God is alive, present, and active. Last characteristic. So solid, not only solid, but committed to others, and creative people. People serve out of gratefulness. They live, the way of living is as saying always thank you. They live well because they say thank you. The main source for their activity, for their involvement, is not that they are very important, but it is that they are very grateful. They feel very grateful. I live like this because I am grateful to what I have received. So it's out of passion, out of love, out of passion, out of love. And love is also always creative. When we love, we are always very creative. And yeah, we are always very creative. And we are always very generous. No? When we love, we are always very generous. We don't measure things. We don't even mind if people say to us, thank you or not. Because it's us saying thank you. It's not others that have to tell us thank you. It's us saying thank you. Sometimes people tell me, well, I didn't remember to say to you this and that. And I say, oh, it's good that you tell me, but inside I say, oh, this was what I wanted to do. And I felt so well. That was all. No? So it's out of love, out of passion. There's one expression from Saint Augustine. Augustine. Yeah, Augustine. You say, yeah, I don't know. So he says, the measure of love is a love without measure. The measure for love is a love without measure. How much love? Love without measure. As much as you want, as much as you can. Well, when we are creative, we participate in God's creativity. God is so creative. God is so creative. All this world is so amazing. It's God's creation. God's creativity is so large. We participate in God's creativity. And we have to recognize that we human beings, we are quite creative. Especially when we are passionate by something. We have passion for something. We are creative in our homes, we are creative in our families. Some people are very creative in their work. And when we are worried about something, we want to give new responses, we really become creative. we have been speaking about major problems, not at all easy problems, very difficult problems. They need creativity. They need creativity. They are not technical problems. Most of our problems today are human problems. We have excluded people in our countries because of human problems, not because of technical problems. If people in the world today suffer out of hunger, this is not a technical problem. This is a human problem. We need to be creative, and this is a challenge for all of us. With capacity to involve diversity, we were saying before, no? We were saying before that we exclude because of diversity. Diversity is a problem for us. When a new person arrives, the child is crying. The child is crying. Well, we can see it as a problem because we would like everybody to be the same. But finally, it's so wonderful that there is a child with us, and we need to think how to deal with that, no? With capacity to involve diversity in the context of debate and conflict. We usually debate and we have conflicts. What's important is that these conflicts become creative conflicts. When there are no conflicts, we don't have life. Some people tell me, oh, this is there are so many problems in this institution. And I tell them, of course, this is a very important institution, and we are always going to have problems. If we don't have problems, this institution is dead. We have problems, and we deal with conflicts. What's important is that we deal with conflicts so that it's a source of creativity. Sometimes we debate in our communities, we debate in our families, we debate with friends. We have to debate. We have to defend our positions. But finally, we have to reach a new truth that we share together, and we commit to also together. Well, and with fruitfulness, no? Yeah, when we are creative, there is a lot of fruit. There is a lot of fruit. Okay. Well, just a word on this, and I'm feeling because I want to finish, because otherwise it's going to be too long. And we cannot do this alone. We have to do it together. We have to do it in communities. We have to work together and also to celebrate that we are together. No? It's so good that we are together. In some way, when we live together, we are also announcing the way all of us, all humanity, could live together. So, in communities of solidarity, committed to others, but together, not alone. We are not heroes, we are companions. We are companions on the same way, on the same route. We are not heroes. We are not called to be heroes. We are called to be companions. And that's something that we can do together in our communities. I leave it there. Okay. This is a way of summing it up, of summarizing it. Okay? But I would leave it here. No? So what I have shared with you is these two major challenges: inclusion and sustainability. No? Those two major crises that we have today, which are linked, the social and the ecological one. And then, well, we can give some kind of answer from our own tradition, the Ignatian tradition, Christian Ignatian tradition. And what I was sharing with you is, well, this need for solid persons. We are called to be solid, committed, out of love, and creative, so that we can offer better responses to this very complex world. Do we need to